Okay, so we're learning the Maimer, Ishte Zion, and again, the geography, the technical levels he's talking about the Maila Adin Ketz, or the Matamat Adin Tachlis, as the Zohar describes, refers to the Ein Sof. The point being, let's remember that the Oitzer that is granted to the soldier to achieve the victory is that level of the Maila Adin Ketz. To appreciate that, we have to understand the Matamat Adin Tachlis, which has been explained over the last few years, the last few Shvats. Here he's saying that it's a big chiddush that Rebbe will address later, that these are two levels within the Ein Sof, two dargas. The Rebbe asks, how can you speak of dargas in Ein Sof, in pshitus, in simplicity, in infinite? It's a contradiction in terms. So that he addresses later. What did he say now? So a number of terms to put on the table. Yosher, Chayzer, and says that the lower level is like Yosher. That's the Mata in Tachlis. The higher level, Chayzer. Why it's called Chayzer, it's not entirely clear. We'll offer an explanation presently, but I haven't heard anything definitive from any of the great Mashpiyim. Because it's not the classic definition I explained yesterday what Chayzer is, classic meaning. So Yosher is the level which it descends the Mata, and Chayzer is the Maila Madin Ketz. That's number one. Number two, he said like as follows: both are makif. Actually, I should add the terms. They're makif of Yosher, makif of Chayzer. Both these levels, they ain't soft. They're transcendent. But Yosher transcendence and Chayzer transcendence. Now, here's where he gave the moshel. So the moshel is two kinds of ashpah from a Rav to a Talmud. Both are makif. Both are makif. Both are currently beyond the full comprehension, the full integrated comprehension of the idea as it is by the Rav, so it's beyond the Talmud. Yosha means like this, that nonetheless, the Rav brings it down in Oisius that at least externally, the Talmud has a grasp of the idea and eventually will grasp the depth of it. That's the classic. After 40 years, a Rabbi, a person will grasp his master's knowledge. That's all makif of Yosha. It's all accessible. And so that means to say that even the level that's not currently accessible, it's in the realm of accessibility, and you will get there. Then there is a higher level of seichel. Now here's where it gets very subtle. And he says that this seichel is a vermachtering, and that was the language he used in Yiddish, even for the Rav himself. And I'm still waiting for an explanation. So I'm going to say what I suggested. They said could be. So I'll share it with you. It could be that it means that the idea is so profound that even for the Rav, it doesn't exist in words, in laid out orderly words. It's like Chochmah versus Bina. It is so transcendent and so essential that the Rav doesn't think about it in terms of language and structure, that it could be conveyed, that it couldn't be conveyed overtly in words. It's an essential idea, right? It's al derech re'iyah versus shmir. When you see something, your knowledge of that is not structured in words. It just is, and that's it. You see it. You don't have, there's no need for language even. It transcends language. Or another parallel would be oishes machshava and oishes dibur. When you think about something in machshava, the letters are fleeting and they're very tenuous, unlike when you articulate it in words. Then it's orderly, it's structured, it takes a long time to express in words, which you might think about in moments in Olam Machshava. But that's not a good marshal, because it's just, the idea is given to words, but you're just thinking about it on a level that doesn't need that defined structure. Here we're speaking about a seichel, l'chatchila. The concept is so transcendent that even by the Rav, it's closed. It's a famachtaringen, which means he sees it and understands it, but it's at a very deep intuitive level. One of the mashpiyim suggested it might be similar to Yediyas Hashlila. He grasps it by what it's not by what it is. I don't know. The emes is, as we find often, at least I do anyway, very often the mashalim make it more difficult. Without the mashal, it's easy to understand. Because there's levels of likus that are just not given to structure at all, period. The moment you start giving a mashal from seichel, but seichel is all to begin with about Hagdara, that's where I'm stuck a little bit. That's why I'm not getting answers from anybody, clearly. Because the whole mashal is a mashal mugbal. And what are we giving a mashal for? Eidin Sof, Torich Ian Godel. I don't know. I've read a little bit that they're posting. There's a whole website there out there with Biyurim and people wrote them. Haven't heard anybody that addresses this properly, even at all, really. Well, this is what he's saying. So we're up to right now, like this. So the second marshal, so what they say. Now this is conveyed. Here's the paradox. This seichel that is beyond the ken of the Talmud, period. There's no language with which he could explain the idea. And the big chiddush is he doesn't even have the language in his own head, the Rav. That's how transcendent and ethereal and refined the idea would be. I'm wondering whether Moshel equals MC squared. It's the profoundest, the scientific discoveries. Is a Moshel for it. Okay, I don't understand it myself, so I don't know if that's given to thesis and explanation, or it must be understood on a symbolic language level. The more language you use, you destroy it. I don't know. By the end of the day, that's a havana of physics, of the hardcore physics of the world. But the discovery that the physics of the world is not this neat little clock that we think it is. There's infinite energy, and then there's subatomic articles in the whole world of quantum physics. A good scientist, a chassid, maybe can give good mishalim for this, or illustrate it. Not mishalim, but dugmois, illustrations. Weiß ich nicht. Let's do our best. So here's the thing. The Rav does convey it, but how? In a story. It's the only way to give it. It's in a story, like Shlomo Melech in a mashal. And then he says it's only by the grace of God, the Ruach HaKodesh, the Chachamim, will megala sometimes what the mashal means, but otherwise it's fundamentally inaccessible. Why? Because he has Yediyas Hashem. And Yediyas Hashem cannot be, divine knowledge cannot be put into human words. So how is it conveyed in a mashal? And that's, he said, the stories of the Torah, the stories of the Gemara. The Alter Rebbe says that the Rebbe said this HaTorah Genuzimba. Why? Because they cannot be expressed as a halacha is expressed in an orderly way. They can only come, period. They can only be conveyed in a mashal, in a story. So here it does not spell out what this means, but in the end, so you heard the story. So what do you have? You've got the idea, but you don't know that you have the idea. And you'll never get the concept there, but you have it. It's all left very vague. Nothing is spelled out, but that's what he says. That's the Mesholim and the stories of the Torah. Now he's going to add, so we're another level to the Moshel, another component to the Moshel. So we're up to, friends, where V'hine nikazeh yoser. Yeah, everybody's with me? I have a different layout than you, but if you're looking at, there's no numbers here either. There's no very few. What?
It's the third up from the bottom of page 10.
It's, what do you say? A third?
The third up from the bottom of page 10.
A third up from the bottom of page 2. Okay.
Yes.
So now this is like a new level a new component of the marshal that the Rebbe apparently says later that this is more a deeper marshal. When do we see the difference between these two levels of seichel Now we're focusing on the essentially concealed one. When the master himself is thinking further and developing this nivdal, this concept that is fundamentally removed from structure and language and the ability to convey to the Talmud, so what happens? This is a well-known principle. The more we deepen an idea, what happens is you don't just deepen, discover a new layer. It also affects what you understood of the idea till now, right? If you go deeper, it's not just a new layer. What the level you understood before now gets greater clarity and depth. Where's it going with it? So when the mashpia is thinking deeply about this discovery, this idea, there's a greater illumination for him. So you would think that the Talmud will get something. No. Even that which is developed in the mind of the master remains concealed, fundamentally concealed. And this is not at all similar to the lower level of idea, that if the master increases in deepening understanding that level, that idea, which to begin with is in the realm of the Talmud, as he deepens within himself, there'll be a spillover and the Talmud will also gain new insight. Not so in the higher level idea, the nivdal. When we're talking about the lower level of teaching, so when the teacher is going deeper in that idea, which to begin with again is in the world of the Makabal, so the Makabal is not outside this world. He too will gain from the new insight. But that's what Chayzer is. That's often elicited by the Talmud's question. Talmud asks questions and challenges what the teacher said. So he's mischakem further. It's a new insight, and the Makabal gains from it. That's usually, but this is not what he's talking about. When he says Chayzer here, he means to begin with, it's the higher seichel. We'll offer an explanation, perhaps why. In the lower level idea, even though the rumination is happening in the mind of the mashpia, the new insights, that's happening in the mind of the mashpia, the recipient is going to get something, because to begin with, the whole idea is in his realm. It's not going to be the way the master has it. It'll be relative to the makabel, but he's still within that world. Even as there's gilui in the mind of the mashpia, the mashpia will convey that. There'll be some kind of language that will offer new insight and new depth, new understanding for the makabel. Because we're talking about a revelation that altogether is near to his world. It's an idea that is given to be given over. The whole revelation to begin with is one that can be revealed and absorbed by the recipient, by the mind of the Talmud. Whatever's going on in the mind of the mashpia, since to begin with, it's an idea that's in the same universe, as it were, of the makabel. So even that which is going on in his own mind in that level idea, and even though it's very deep by him, since overall this is an idea that's again within the ken of the Talmud, all of it eventually will be revealed, and it's to begin with even now in a state of communication. Going back now to the higher level, that's the Eid and Safla Ma'amadin Ketz. Avlo besichlim amukim yoiser. But ones that are deeper, she'enim shayachim lakabel klal. It's not in the world. This is not that no Talmud will ever get this. Period. Shusosam be'etzem. It's fundamentally removed. Im kein adiklolis musa eid but with this almost no matter what's going on in the greater insight in the development in the mind of the master, it still remains concealed. And you call Mashiv Maskil Mischakim Mashpia Bezeh, whatever further insight he gets, the Mashpia, Avshu, Masigyo or Maskil Bezeh, even though he's grasping it in the Iliyos, the Kololos, HaMahusa, but no, this Almus, since overall it's not in the realm of the mind of the Talmud, and Igam Hashem is Gala Elov, even though there's light going on and light bulbs flashing and new insight, Nivdo, Mr. Almat remains within him, and whatever he's going to say will still be just a marshal and a story. It will never come out in greater Gilui. We're clear? Sure. We're as clear as we can be. Now, just to offer an insight, my suggestion, why this is called Or Chayzer. Could be completely off, but I put it out there, and they said maybe. It could be because what Or Chayzer means a rebounding light. That's what it means, rebounding light. So classically, it means, as I said, the Talmud, feedback from the Talmud. What means Or Chayzer here? So we're talking about the Talmud doesn't grasp anything. He's not in the picture. This is all within the mind of the mashpia. So maybe it is. At the end of the day, for the mashpia, there has to be some letters and words. If you're thinking, but the words don't grasp. They constantly, there's words, but that's not it. So it bounces, the idea bounces, as it were, never settles within this language and these words. We can write now. He can write now an essay that the Talmud will understand. It'll never get there. So there has to be some oisias, but the oisias don't hold it. They're just like, it's al derech poetry, etc. The words, they're symbolic. All the language is symbolic. It's not that this is, and the more profound the idea, the language is more nuanced and symbolic, and the words don't mean what they usually mean. They're just symbols and to be borrowed to anchor the idea in some kind of structure, but it's not a structure that we can give in the limitations of language and words. Ola yesh loimer, that's what Or Chayzer means. Ad kan. Fellas, now let's go to the Maimer. Now you have it. I think you have it. What's interesting is that we have from the Rebbe. Actually, you have a copy of the actual Ksav Yad Kodesh.
No, it's typed up.
Huh?
Typed.
They don't even show it anywhere. Because I saw it. I saw it somewhere.
No, they typed the notes. They typed the notes. Here.
No, not that. That's a telegram. It's an interesting telegram. I saw it somewhere. It's written in pencil, and you have it in notes. I think after we learn the Maimer, we'll revisit these notes and see if we're on track. Very often the Rebbe did that. Wrote Bekitzer notes for himself before he said the Maimer or something. Not very often, but it definitely happened. Okay. Now the Ksav Yad Kodesh.